Hello everyone. Dear students, the topic that we people are going to study now is agriculture in India, and this chapter is basically related to food crops. Okay, this chapter is basically related to food crops. Before we go to all the various type of crops that we are finding in our country, let us look at a very important definition, and that is what is agriculture. Okay, what exactly is agriculture? Please remember the word agriculture is related to cultivation of crops along with rearing of animals. So agriculture involves not only growing crops but also rearing animals, dear student. Okay, and these crops which we grow in our country, we classify these crops into two categories. We classify them as food crops and cash crops. Okay, the crops can be divided into two categories as food crops and cash crops. Okay, now sometime back I used the word cereal. Okay, now cereals are basically, dear students, are food grains. Okay, they are food grains. Now you will look at this picture and you will find that this looks like grass. Okay, this looks like grass. So basically cereals are what, these are grass like plant, and from this grass like plant we obtain the seeds, and these seeds consist of starch, that means carbohydrates, which are the main source of food for us. Okay, we obtain maximum energy required for our life, dear students, from cereals. Okay, so cereals are the sources of what? They are the sources of starch, that means carbohydrates. And in our country, we grow rice, wheat, maize also, barley. These are the main one that we grow as cereals. Okay, this rye, oat, they are basically grown in cold countries as the foods, as the cereals. And millets, I already told you, dear students, they are the combination of jawar, bajra and nagli. These three crops together we call by the name millets. So again, cereals are the grass like plants from which we obtain starch. Okay, and the three main sources of starch, that means the three main cereals in our country are rice, wheat, and third one is jawar. Okay, now uh, question comes, why cereals are the main foodstuff? Why are cereals the main foodstuff? Okay, now maize is also included as a foodstuff. Okay, but in India, we use jawar as the main cereal. Okay, this maize forms the main foodstuff for Western countries. Okay, by the way, why cereals? They are the main part of our diet. The reasons are they can be cultivated easily, and second important thing, they provide a huge amount of energy. That means their nutritional value, the value that decides the quantity of energy that we obtain, is very very high from cereals, and that is why cereals are consumed as main food stuff. Okay, in the world, dear students, rice is the main food. Not only in the world but in India also, rice is the main food, and something which is the main food, it's called as staple diet. So in India, rice is the main cereal, followed by wheat. So most important cereal in India is rice. Second most important cereal in India is wheat, and the third most important cereal in India is jawar. But when we take the world into consideration, then we say maize is a important cereal. But for Indian perspective, rice, wheat, and jawar, they form three main cereals for us. Okay. Now, when we are talking about agriculture, dear students, okay, the very important, the first step in agriculture is sowing the seeds. Okay, and these seeds can be sown by five different ways. I repeat, seeds can be sown by five different ways. We call them by the name broadcasting, Dibling, the third is called drilling. Then we have transplantation and a special type of transplantation called as Japanese transplantation. So these are the main five ways in which the seeds are sown in our country. Okay. Now let us look at all these step by step. Now, the first one is called as broadcasting. The first method of sowing the seed is broadcasting. What exactly is broadcasting? So you take the seeds in your hand, go in the farm and start scattering them. Actually, you have to start throwing the seeds. You can see here this person is involved in a process of sowing the seed. This is the simplest method in which you have to simply take the seeds, go in the farm and start scattering them. This process is called as broadcasting. Now, what is the benefit advantage of this method? The first benefit, it is the simplest way in which you can sow the seeds. It is the cheapest way because you don't require a lot of labor force, and it is the fastest process. So it saves your labor. Second important thing, it saves your labor cost. And third important thing, it saves your time. These are the three benefits or three advantages of using this method of sowing the seed. Okay. But along with the advantages, dear student, there are few disadvantages also. Now, what are those disadvantages? Now, what happens when we take the seeds and when we start throwing them, that time lot of seeds get wasted because some seeds may fall outside the farm or too many seeds will fall together, and when too many seeds will fall together, then none of them will get enough of space, enough of water, enough of nutrients to grow properly. So those seeds will start getting wasted. Then the growth of the crop will also not take place properly, and overall production of the crop will decrease. So these are the disadvantages of a process called broadcasting, in which seeds are simply thrown, seeds are simply scattered in the farm. Then the next process or the next way of sowing the seed is called as dibling. Okay, now what exactly is done in dibling? Now you look at this picture. Here the farmer has already carried out plowing. Okay, this farm is already been plowed. Then what the farmer will do? He will take the seeds and he will go and he will start putting the seed one by one at regular interval. So what will happen? This will now, when the farmer will put one seed here, the next seed will be here, the next seed will be here. So in this way, there will be enough of space for the seeds to grow. Second thing, all the seeds will get enough of water, enough of nutrients for their growth, and because of this method, the seeds will also be saved. That means there will be less wastage because we are planting them, we are putting them at regular intervals. So these are the benefits of this dibling method of sowing. But the disadvantages are also there. Okay, and what are those disadvantages? The first disadvantages is that it is time consuming. It will require a lot of time. And second important thing, you will of course require more labor force. And when you are going to use more labor force, that means you have to pay also to the labor. So in this way, the cost of sowing the seed will also go on increasing. So these are disadvantages of this method. Then the third method of sowing the seeds is called as drilling method. It's a very interesting, very wonderful method. Now, if you see in this picture, dear student, okay, you will find that there is one container at the top, okay, and there are some pipes, okay, one pipe, two pipe, three pipes. So there are four, five pipes. So what the farmer will do, he will take the seeds in his hand and he will put into that container, and seeds will now start entering into one pipe, second pipe, third pipe, and in this way at a time the seeds will be getting sown with the help of this method. Okay, so therefore it is one of the best method of sowing the seeds, and in this method we are also making sure that seeds are planted at regular interval, and because of that the seeds will also get enough of space for their growth, enough of space for their growth. And one more benefit, dear student, that when the seeds will be sown in this method, okay, for example, if this is one row and if the seeds are sown here, then you will find here another structure which is called as a plank. So what will happen once the seeds get sown? The plank will move over the seed and it will cover the seed with the soil. Therefore, it will be sown in a proper way, so birds will not be able to eat it, and in this way it will prevent the wastage of seed. But again, along with the advantages, we have to also study some disadvantages. So what are the disadvantages of this method? Okay, you must have guessed it correctly. Yes, it will also require lot of time. So it is time consuming, and you will have to also employ people, a lot of people. So you will require labor cost, you will also require more time in order to carry out the process of drilling. So drilling is a process of sowing the seeds with the help of a drill. This machine is called as a drill at regular interval. Okay. Now let us look at the next method of sowing the seed. Dear students, it is one of the best method of sowing the seed, and we call it by the name transplantation. Now what exactly is the meaning of this word transplantation? Okay, what exactly they do? First they take one container. In this container they put very fertile soil, very fertile soil. In this soil they will add lot of fertilizers, and then they will take the seeds and they will put the seeds in this box, and they will allow the seeds to grow in the box, and they will keep that box in the sunlight. When there will be very heavy rainfall, so they can actually pick up that and put it in a shade to save the seed from very heavy rain. And when the rain very heavy rain will decrease, so they will again put it back into the field there. So in this way you are protecting them in a best possible way, and you are allowing the seeds to grow in a very protected environment. And once the seed grows about 20 centimeter tall, approximately after 4 weeks, then they uproot, means the seed which has now grown into a plant. Okay, now we will call this plant by the name sapling. So they will take the sapling out, they will take it to the farm and sow it again, transplant it again. That means taking it from one place and putting back into the farm. This way the production of the crop increases very rapidly, and this process is called as transplantation. Okay, in our country we have modified this system, in which instead of taking the boxes, if you see here, they have prepared the field here in a very beautiful way. If you look here, the soil is also very fertile. They have added enough amount of water over here, and what they have done, they have taken the seeds here which were actually initially soaked in water, and those seeds may have little bit of growth of the sapling, and they will take this, and sprouted seeds will be now planted here in the very well prepared farm. And once they grow to the height of about 20 to 30 centimeter, as I said some time back, they will be transplanted. Transplanted means picked up from one place and taken and planting them into the farm. This method is basically used for growing rice. I repeat, this method is specifically used for growing rice. Okay, you can see here the farmer has brought those saplings. Okay, and now they are actually going to take these saplings, dear students, and they are going to sow it in the farm. So this process is called as transplantation. Now the advantages of this method, that it is used in a densely populated area, and for this process you require a lot of labor, of course, but these labor are available at cheap rate because this area is densely populated. Then when you are grow now suppose these are the saplings. Okay, now along with these saplings some unwanted grass also grows. I repeat, along with the saplings some unwanted grass will also grow here, which is called as weed. So when we are transplanting, the weeds can also be removed easily from there. And in this process, of course, there will be minimum wastage. But dear students, the disadvantage of this process is that it requires a lot of labor, and this process also requires a lot of time, and therefore it is comparatively costly method of carrying out the sowing of seeds. Then the last method of sowing seed is called as Japanese method of transplantation, which is exactly transplantation, but the only difference here is that during Japanese transplantation they use the best quality seed. I repeat, they use the best quality seed. The name of that seed is Japonica. Okay, and otherwise the process is similar to transplantation, but in Japan they are using a special seed, and believe me, when you use that seed, the production of the rice increases straight away to 3 times. Straight away to 3 times. It means from one farm, if you are getting 1000 kilogram of food grain from the same farm, because of using this method in which you are using the best quality seed, along with that you are also using very good amount of fertilizers, because of this process the production will increase 3 times. So these are the advantages of Japanese method of transplantation, but its disadvantage will be definitely it will require lot of time and labor force. Okay, so now children, we will be now looking at the major crops in our country, major food crops. Among them, the most important one is rice. Rice is the most important food crop of India. Now it grows basically in Kharif season. We have already studied meaning of the word Kharif season is during rainy season. That means from June to September, October it is grown. This rice crop can be grown in mountain area, as you can see here. You can see it can be grown in plateau area. You can also grow it in plain areas. It means it can be grown almost everywhere. Therefore, it is called as versatile crop. Okay, because it can be grown at various altitudes. Okay, so rice is a versatile crop, not only in terms of altitude, but it can also be grown in different seasons, provided there is availability of rainfall. Okay, If no, and if rainfall is not there, you can, if you have irrigation facilities, it can be grown there also. So it can be grown in summer, it can be grown in rainy season also, it can be grown at various altitudes, and that is why we call this crop as versatile crop. Okay, please remember, dear students, that when we are talking about the rice that is growing in upland area, that means in mountain area, okay, it will be there grown in the form of terraced farming. Terraced farming, that means the farming that is done in a form of steps, that is in a form of a terrace that you can see over here. Okay, so it is a terrace type of farming, and this farming totally depends upon the rainfall. As I already said, this rice is a versatile crop because you are able to grow it in a plateau region. So previously you saw there was a mountain region. You can also grow it in a plateau region. Okay, and West Bengal, which is number one state in our country in production of rice, it is mainly a plain area. Now few important facts about rice cultivation, that our country ranks second in the world in overall production of rice. Okay, the largest producer of rice in the world is China. We rank number two in the world in overall production of rice. Okay, and scientists believe that rice could be the first cereal that must have been cultivated by human beings. Okay, now geographical conditions which are required for growth of rice crop. Please remember, dear students, that when we talk about geographical conditions, means you have to talk about rainfall, you have to talk about temperature that is required for the growth, then in which type of soil can you grow it. Okay, these are the three main geographical requirements. Okay, labor is another requirement, but when we talk about geographical, it is basically we are talking about rainfall, temperature, and the soil that is required for growth of any crop. Now, when we are looking at rice, please remember, rice is basically a crop of high temperature. Okay, it generally grows in tropical area, and it requires the temperature of about 16 degrees to 32 degrees Celsius for its growth. The average temperature required is 24 degrees Celsius, which is quite high. Second important thing, it requires rainfall of more than 150 centimeters. So from 150 up to 300 centimeter is the amount of rainfall needed. You can grow this crop even if the rainfall is 100 centimeter, but in that case, dear students, you will have to provide irrigation facility. This crop grows very well in alluvial soil, and another word used here is loam with clay. Please remember meaning of the word loam. Loam is a mixture of sand and clay. Loam is a mixture of sand and clay. So loam with clay, that means you need sand but lot of amount of clay in it, because clay has got a special ability of retaining the moisture, and as this crop requires a lot of water, so the soil which is having clay in it will be better for its cultivation. The next point is labor. As we have already seen that rice is grown by a method called transplantation, and then for carrying out sowing of the seed, uprooting them, then taking them to the farm, and again replanting. So all these require lot of labor force. Okay, plentiful labor force is another requirement for growing rice. Now, sowing method, we have already studied that transplantation is the method by which this crop will be grown. In transplantation, I will repeat, that the seeds are first sown in a nursery. Okay, those seeds, when they grow up to the height of 20 centimeter, maybe in a period of about 3 months or 3 weeks to 4 weeks time, then the saplings which are grown now are taken from there, and then these saplings are replanted. Those, and that process we have already studied, is called as transplantation. That is a method in which we are carrying the seeds and putting them in a farm. That process is called transplantation. Then after this crop is fully grown, okay, the surplus water is drained off. Drained off means it is taken away from the farm, and as I already told you, that it requires a large amount of labor force. Now, the look at the seeds now. These seeds, dear students, okay, they are sprouted. That means before you sow the seeds in a nursery, first the seeds are soaked in water, and when the little bit of sprouting occur, those seeds are taken and they are put up in a boxes like this, which I told you. Otherwise, you can also put it in a specially prepared farm, okay, where the seeds are sown and allowed to grow up to the period of about 4 weeks. And once they turn into a sapling, you look at these saplings, those saplings are uprooted from the nursery and they are actually taken to a farm where you can see they are actually planted in plenty of water. Plenty of water. Lot of water is a very important requirement of rice crop. Okay. In Japanese transplantation, they use even machines for carrying out transplantation, and these are the saplings, dear students, which they have grown initially in nursery. Now, after this rice crop is completely ready, the crop is to be harvested. Harvesting basically means cutting the crop. After this harvesting is done, the crop is taken where the plants are beaten against the hard surface. You can see here this person is hitting it against the stone, so that, now please remember, on a stem of this rice crop, if this is a stem, this part is called as ear, and in this ear of a crop seeds are present, and in order to remove those seeds, the ears are hit hard against a hard surface. This process is called as threshing. Threshing is a process of removing seed from the ears of the crop. Then after threshing is done, the next process involved here is the process called winnowing. Winnowing is the process, dear student, where now please remember the seeds are now removed from the ear, but those seeds will now having the mixture of the unwanted material. Lot of chaff will be present along with the seed, and then a person will stand at a some height like as this lady is standing, and she will start dropping those seeds taken in a container. So because seeds are heavy, the seeds will fall down here, and the wind will carry the chaff away from this. Wind will carry the chaff away from this. We call this process by the name winnowing. Now threshing can be done by using animals also. You can see here the harvested crop is put up on the ground and the animals are made to walk on this. So because of the movement of animals, the seeds will be separated. Some people put the harvested crop directly on the roads here, and when the vehicles will go over the crop, okay, the seeds will start getting removed from the ears of the crop, and we call that process by the name threshing. Threshing is followed by winnowing, in which the seeds will be separated from chaff. Okay. Now, another way of removing them is hand pounding, in which you can see here the ears of the crop are put up here in a mortar, okay, in a mortar which is a wooden mortar, and with the help of a broad stick, the people will be beating on it, okay, they are going to beat on that one, that will remove the seed from the ear. But after it is removed, you can see here this seed is been removed from the ears of the crop, but the covering of the seed is still present on it, and then we have to remove that one. So how do we remove it? So we will be removing the seed and the chaff by a process called winnowing, and we saw that winnowing is generally done when the wind is blowing and the seeds along with the chaff will be dropped down. The wind will carry the chaff with it and seeds are separated. Now in case of rice, now you can see a winnowing process is being done, dear student, okay, where wind will be carry the chaff away. Now next process, the rice crop, actually the seed of a rice, dear student, looks little dirty. So because it looks little dirty like this, dirty means it is brownish in color, and then it is not very attractive. So such a rice is called as unpolished rice. So in many cases, they are carrying out a polishing of the rice, and once the rice is polished, it looks such a beautiful whitish in color. This is polished rice. But please remember, the process of polishing removes the upper covering of the rice seed, and that is why the nutritive value of such a polished rice gets decreased. That means its energy giving capacity gets reduced. So polishing is basically not a very good process. Now let us now look at the major producers of rice in India. West Bengal ranks first in overall production, and it produces about 15% rice. Single-handedly, it is producing 15% of rice in our country, and they not only grow rice once in a year but thrice in a year. Second very important is Tamil Nadu, okay, that is in South India, and they produce around 9.32% of rice in our country. Please remember, in overall production, West Bengal ranks first. But when we talk about the per hectare production, that means the amount of rice that grows from single hectare, then in per hectare production, Tamil Nadu ranks first. Okay. The other important states that grow rice are, of course, the North Indian states of Punjab and Haryana, and in South India we have Andhra Pradesh, Kerala also, and because this West Bengal is is in a northern part very close to Orissa, so Orissa also produces huge amount of rice in our country. Okay, so Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal, Orissa, then Andhra Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, and of course Kerala. These are the major states producing rice in our country. Okay. Now, dear students, the second most important crop in our country from the point of view of food crops, it is wheat. Okay. Now, please remember, wheat is the second most important staple diet of India, and this is a Rabi crop. Rabi crops are those crops which are grown during winter time. So it is a Rabi crop, dear students, and it is sown somewhere in the month of November, and the harvesting is done in April and May when the crop is completely ready. This crop is actually, wheat crop is very good because it consists of not only carbohydrates but also proteins and vitamins. Okay, so its nutritive value is very high. And another very important thing about wheat crop, that our country is fourth largest producer of wheat in the world. Please remember, Russia is the largest producer, followed by USA and China. Now, these countries are now, if you talk about Russia, it is 5 times the size of India. Both China and USA are more than 3 times the size of India. So, because their size is very, very huge as compared to India, therefore, their production of wheat will also be definitely more than our country. Okay, now the geographical requirement we have already studied, that means the rainfall, temperature and soil required for this crop. Dear students, this crop I'm talking about wheat is a rabi crop. That means it requires cool climatic conditions, and that's why if you see, the temperature at the time of sowing the seed should be 10 to 15 degrees Celsius. And when the crop is ready for harvesting, ready for cutting, the temperature has to be 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. Now this crop needs the rainfall of about 50 to 100 centimeter, and if rainfall is not available, of course you can grow this crop very well with the help of irrigation. When we talk about soil, dear students, this crop grows well in soil, okay, which is clayey, which is a loamy. Loamy we have seen is a mixture of sand and clay, or you can also grow it very well in black soil. Okay, now these are the basic requirements of this soil, but you can also grow it in alluvial soil in very abundant quantity. Please remember, this crop provides us lot of nutrients, so therefore its requirement of nutrient is also very high, and that is why we can say that wheat requires lot of fertilizers. Okay, now uh, how are we going to carry out cultivation of this crop? Sowing. Okay, now this crop is sown by either broadcasting method, or by Dibling method, or by drilling method, and we have already seen the 3 ways in which this can be done. Now you can sow the seeds in the month of October, November, and crop is ready by February or March, and harvesting can go on till the month of April also. When this crop is growing, dear students, 3 things are dangerous for this crop. 3 things. First is hailstorm. Second thing is frost, and too much of rain. They are dangerous for this crop, and this crop very easily get affected. Now you see the leaf, this leaf is infected by a fungal disease. Name of this fungal disease is rust. Okay, this crop can very easily get affected by rust, so farmers will have to take a lot of care when this crop is being grown. Then where do we find its large scale production? Please remember, uh, Uttar Pradesh has 2 very important rivers flowing in it, river Ganga and river Yamuna, and there are many tributaries, so there is abundant water available, lot of irrigation available. Therefore, Uttar Pradesh ranks number 1 in overall production of wheat in our country, followed by Punjab and Haryana. Please remember, Punjab is largest producer when we talk about per hectare production. So in per hectare production, Punjab is the number 1, and in overall production, Uttar Pradesh is number 1. These 3 states together produce more than 50% of wheat for our country, and that is why we call them the granary of our country. Besides these three states, dear student, you can see here Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, they are also good producers of wheat in our country. So basically it is the crop of North India. Okay. Then other states we have already seen, and uh, the wheat from Uttar Pradesh, as I said, is very famous. Same is for Madhya Pradesh also. Okay, Madhya Pradesh wheat is famous for its quality in our country. Then next food crop, dear student, are pulses. Pulses we also call by the local name dal. Okay, so you must have heard the name tur dal, chana dal, masoor dal, urad dal. You can use these words because they are proper nouns. Okay, so pulses are the third most important food crop in our country. Remember, they are the richest source of proteins. Please remember, dear students, that proteins are needed by our body for the development of muscles. For muscular development, they are needed, and pulses are in this way are the must in our diet in order to have a proper muscular growth. These plants are also called as leguminous plants because on the roots of these plants, some swellings grow, and these swellings are called as nodules. Okay, dear student, these swellings are called as nodules. Now you will wonder what is the importance of this nodule. Now see here, these nodules, these swellings. In these swellings, one bacteria lives. Its name is rhizobium, and this rhizobium bacteria has capacity to convert nitrogen present in the air in nitrogen compound, which is required by plant to make the proteins. Okay, so other crops, they exhaust the soil, they remove the fertility of the soil. But leguminous crops like these pulses, they increase the fertility of the soil. Therefore, after this crop is grown, the next crop, let us say we grow wheat. So for wheat, now ready-made nitrogen compounds are available as a fertilizer. So once wheat will grow there, wheat will absorb the nitrogen compounds. The soil will lose the fertility. Now in that soil, you again plant which plants now? Leguminous plants. That means pulses, and pulses will again convert nitrogen of air into nitrogen compound, and they will increase the fertility of the soil again. Therefore, these crops are grown as rotation crop, okay, in order to increase the fertility of soil. Now, these pulses are not only good for us, but the leaves of this plant and the stem of this plant is a good forage. Forage means food for animals. You can see here that leaves of the plant are fed to animals as a good source of protein. Then major pulses in our country are gram. In local language, we call it by the name chana and tur. These are the two most important pulses in our country, and other pulses are then urad, tur dal, moong, masoor, and matar and moth. Okay, you can use the local name also because those are the proper names of those crops. Then uh, as I said, these leaves, dear student, they serve as excellent forage. We have seen, and the nodules of these plants, you can see these are those nodules. They grow on the roots and they convert the nitrogen of air into nitrogen compound. Please remember, plants require nitrogen to make protein, but plants cannot absorb nitrogen directly from air. Okay, plants are able to absorb nitrogen in a form of nitrogen compound. And from where do we get this nitrogen compound? It is available when the nodules in which the rhizobium is present will convert nitrogen into nitrogen compound for these plants. Okay. Now, geographical conditions, dear students, they include the temperature of approximately 20 to 25 degrees Celsius and rainfall of about 50 to 75 centimeter. Now, this crop grows well in a soil which is dry soil. Dry does not mean completely dry. It means the soil in which water can flow away easily. Dry, light soil, which is a sandy loam. That means in the soil there has to be lot of amount of sand, but some amount of clay also grows very well in alluvial soil. The soil that you see over here is alluvial soil, and the soil that you see here is black soil. So it grows well in sandy soil also, but that sandy soil has to have clay in it. So we call that one by the name sandy loam. So sandy loam means the soil having more amount of sand and some amount of clay in it. Now, major producers of pulses in our country. Okay, Rajasthan is the largest producer. It ranks number one. And then other states, dear students, they include Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, and so on. But in overall production, number one is Rajasthan and second is Madhya Pradesh. Okay, Rajasthan is the largest producer, followed by Madhya Pradesh. Now, we have already seen these conditions required for the growth of this crop. Now, dear students, we have to study about one major pulses in India, and its name is chana, or in English we call it gram. Okay. Now this crop needs temperature of 20 to 25 degrees Celsius and temperature along with that the rainfall of about 50 centimeter to 100 centimeter. Please remember its requirement of soil will be same as that of pulses because this is one of the pulses. Okay, and India ranks, dear student, number one in production of gram in the world with 37% of production coming from gram. Now this crop gram, okay, you must have seen this is called as besan. Okay, now this besan is useful for making besan. Okay, we use this besan for making laddus, for making shev, for making pakoras. Okay, and that means not only we are making the chili items, that means the spicy item, but we also make what the items which are sweet to taste. So this one is one of the most favorite food stuff in our country. So we make a lot of food preparations with that. Its leaves are consumed directly as vegetable. So like methi vegetable which is cooked as a food, you can also use it for making the vegetable. I'm talking about the leaves are used as the vegetable straight away. Horses are fed with chanas because they are very rich source of protein. So muscular growth of horses take place and they become very, very strong. Now in the production, as we had seen some time back, Rajasthan ranks number one in the production of pulses. So because chana is one of the pulses, so definitely then Rajasthan is the largest producer, followed by Madhya Pradesh. Then other states definitely from northern India, Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Haryana, and also Himachal Pradesh. Okay, these are major producer of gram in our country. Okay, you can see here horses are fed with gram because horses become strong because of eating these gram. Then this is, dear student, okay, is a overall chart where I have put up all the requirements of these various crops, that rice is grown by which method, so transplantation, and what is the temperature requirement and the rainfall requirement, and the soil which is good for its cultivation, and the major steps. Okay, so that way this one will be very easy to remember. Okay, and in a summarized form, dear students, you will be able to remember the requirement of various crops, food crops in our country. Okay, may God bless you abundantly, dear students. Thank you very, very much.